Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we speak about the situation of the suffering and persecuted church around the world. Our guest today is His Excellency Jonas Sipuka, Bishop of the Diocese of Umata in South Africa. He's also the president of the Southern African Catholic Bishops' Conference, a man with deep knowledge of the situation of the church in the southern part of Africa. Your Excellency, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Your Excellency, how many years have you been a bishop?
Towards 15 years now. I was ordained a bishop in 2008.
And you are originally from South Africa?
I'm originally from South Africa, yes.
What region?
The Eastern Cape. And I always tell the people who know only Cape Town and Johannesburg, when I say I'm from Tata, Eastern Cape, I always say where Nelson Mandela is born and buried.
Okay,
and then you see their eyes light up, because I talk about something that they know.
Of course, it's quite relevant.
So it's in the southeast of the country.
Now, while I was preparing the interview, Your Excellency, I read that this region in particular is not as prosperous as some other areas of South Africa. Almost 65% of the people are unemployed, and same thing with the percentage of illiteracy in the region. What is this reality? How does it look like? I mean, we hear the numbers, but how does it look like in real life?
It is indeed like that. It's the most underdeveloped area of the country. If you know the history of South Africa a little bit, before the new dispensation of 1994, when Nelson Mandela was released, this was the area which was called the Bantustan, where the group of people who speak a particular language, which is called Xhosa, were staying there, and they were destined to work in the mines. So there was nothing that was developed there. It was kind of a labor reserve. And so when the new dispensation came in 1994, it came when nothing was developed there. So it has remained like that, and as you rightly say, more than 65% of people are unemployed there, and close to 80% of the young people, are not employed. So it is a poor area. Even when you drive there, it's underdeveloped, it's overgrazed. But what is also killing it, is that the present leadership that we have there, they are not imaginative, to develop the place.
To have initiative.
Yes, because it does have a potential if we could sit down and think together about what can be done.
You mentioned young people, and I know that that's a topic very close to your heart.
Yeah.
And Africa, it's really impressive, Your Excellency, that Africa has an average age of 19.
Yes.
Just to give a comparison for our viewers and our audience, Europe is 44.
Yeah.
The US is 39 and Asia is 32. So it is a very significant
It's a young
difference.
continent, yeah, it's a young continent.
Why, or rather, what does this mean as the challenges for the church?
Well, for the church, it means that we need to pay attention to the young people, and not only develop them as human beings and in faith, but also advocate for creation of opportunities for them, education and employment. So our task is not only to preach the faith, in terms of just a faith of me and God only, Sure, definitely God and me, but in the context of my life, for the development of the whole person, you know. So that is where I see the role of the church, is engaging with the government and business people, because we cannot do this alone. But when it is not done, we need to get on the board and facilitate and negotiate and advise about the way forward. Because it is really a pitiful situation to see young people being neglected.
Now, recently you participated in a regional conference of bishops, and this was precisely the topic, youth ministry. Can we place the question, is the church listening to them?
There is a challenge for us, to do that. Difficult as it is, we as adults need to be creative in finding ways to bring young people on board by listening to them. I'm not too sure exactly, what we need to do. I don't have an answer to that yet, but I am convinced that we need to do more than just condemning them. We need to reach out to them. We cannot just sit and expect them to come, to us. I think that we need to learn the pedagogy and the strategies of dealing with young people. I just wish maybe we could understand more the spirituality of Don Bosco, more, on how we should do this, because this is our mission now. It really is our mission, where young people are basically on their own. And as you know, in the history of the church, the lack of social care has been a point of entry for missionary, activity.
Now, I had the opportunity of listening to a homily that you gave.
Yes.
And I was very impressed with it, I have to say, Your Excellency, because I really liked how you were forcing us, adults and people involved in church, to question our attitude towards younger generations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then you turn the coin and then you say, okay, but what about young people?
Yes.
In your opinion, are these new generations assuming their responsibility? There's this prejudice that we usually hear, that millennials feel very entitled, and that they deserve things and that they expect things to be given to them.
Yes.
Is that true, Your Excellency? And is the church living with this prejudice?
No, it is true. That's why I mentioned it yesterday, But as I also said, on the other side, we are also, as adults, not doing anything to guide them, away from that attitude. The attitude that we have is that perhaps of just noting these things that they're doing and condemning them and not engaging them. And that part of engagement, as I said, will begin by showing to them that we care and love, them. We care about them and we love them.
How would you like to show it, that you love and care for them?
To give time, to go out, and talk with them, and be where they are. Let's go to their homes, and talk with them there. Let us go to schools, and talk with them, instead of waiting for them to come to church, and then we talk with them. We need to go where they are. But the challenge, though, is that we don't know how to. We're not trained, in skills. One may do that out of a momentary inspiration, and then when you get there, you don't get the response maybe that you want, and then you come back. But What would Don Bosco do? What would Jesus do, in such a situation? That, you keep going until you make an impact maybe on few of them, and then gradually, it comes, There's a lot that is going wrong, with them, but we cannot throw our hands up in the air, about them, because they are there. They are our mission at this time,
This sounds very much in the line of the direction that the Holy Father is telling us. Go to the peripheries. Don't
Yes.
wait for people to come to your parish.
Yes.
Go out and
Yes.
reach out.
Exactly. That is what we need to do. That is what we need to do.
Well, I think that it is a good start to the attitude that you have, Your Excellency, of saying we don't have the answers yet. Instead of thinking a little bit in a prideful way that we
Yes.
know how to do things.
Exactly.
So it's definitely it is a good start.
No, I admit that. I think about it. I agonize about it, about where do we start, and one needs to search for those resources. And here I'm not only talking about material resources, that is secondary. I'm talking about the ability to engage on a one-to-one, personal level, If one can make that start, I think we could get somewhere.
And another topic that you mentioned, and it's also related with with young people, obviously, but in general with the population. In your homily, you were mentioning about poverty and how each of us should find our own Lazarus.
Yes.
That beggar
Yes.
outside our own homes.
Yes.
But I really got my attention, Your Excellency, that you were talking to people with very, very limited resources. We might say you were talking to poor people,
Yes.
and yet you were telling them, go and help and find the Lazarus in your own life. That is an amazing challenge.
Yes, but really finding your own Lazarus is first of all giving of yourself and your time. If you recall, I also challenged the young people that yes, they have problems. They are messed up by many things, politically, socially, drugs, relationship with parents. They are stressed, they don't have education. But if they can identify a needful person, an old lady who's staying alone, abandoned by her children, and take care of that, old lady, clean her house, cook her some food, that would be a start of identifying your Lazarus. And who knows, that which you begin at personal level may grow, into an organizational level as well, and suddenly you may never know into what that can develop in terms of your life. So I agree with you. Presently, the people are poor materially, but I am challenging us to reach out with what we have, which is ourselves.
Yes.
As persons, and our time, and our love, and our hands, and our skill. And when we do that, the Lord, as He always does, will multiply that. I was listening to the presentation that was made today about the church in need, how it started. It did not start from
rich people giving money.
Exactly. It started out of a conviction, of the dignity of people who were devastated, by the war, and people giving of their time, and gradually, it was blessed to be where it is now.
You know, Your Excellency, I think that with all the challenges that Africa has, it's extremely rich in the culture and in the values.
On the countryside, you know, you still find that really, but in the cities, you know, it's the life of the jungle there really, you know, because people are flocking, you know, and they don't know each other, you know, they don't have those values. But really, in the countryside, it's true. It's true. There's still that family, you know, spirit. Even though there is a danger of creeping criminality because of drugs, because
Yes.
Drugs are also getting now there, you know, in the rural areas, and so you find really unusual behaviors of young people behaving in a way that we have never known as happening in the rural areas. But it's still not as bad as in the cities. So we need to curb that. I don't know how, but I have no solution. But I see the need for to curb that.
And it is really a race against the against the clock.
It is. It's a race. It's a race. It's a race because you see that this value is still there, but you see the creeping dangers gradually coming in, and you wish really you could do something. You see, the other thing too is that the church in the area where I come from, we are a minority, and it's difficult to be very effective. And so one is trying to be ecumenical so that we could be more effective, So one is working on that.
And by ecumenical, you mean to work in conjunction like with Anglicans,
that's
Lutherans,
right, yes.
Protestants.
Yes,
okay.
yes. And it's better to work with those traditional mainline churches, The difficulty is working with these small,
new evangelical sects, basically.
It's difficult. It's difficult to work with those. It's
all over the world, Your Excellency. Yes.
It's difficult to work with those because they are so dissipated and disintegrated and not holistic, in their sense of care, and yet there are many, and they are attracting, people with a lot of promises, but at the end, you see, those promises are empty.
The gospel of prosperity.
Yes.
That has been so alluring.
But with the mainline churches, it's a little bit better. But if we hope to be more effective, we need to work together as churches.
In your area, Your Excellency, do you still have work of first evangelization, meaning people that have to be baptized and then have to learn about the Christian faith?
Yes, you do. You have children who have not been brought up, in a faith environment where you really have to start, from scratch with them. Yeah, you do. You have that.
What would you like the Universal Church, all our viewers and listeners, what would you like them to know about your needs? How can the Universal Church help the Diocese of Umata?
Tools of evangelization, I would say. We come from a rural, poor background where children do not have, elementary learning, materials as you would have,
right.
So.
And also
also to train almost illiterate people,
yes.
Because, the pedagogy is very important. And what we have there, we have very, very willing people, but it sort of ends up in just reciting the prayers and
Right.
and,
Good
and the
intentions,
sacraments.
but not effective
Exactly,
tools.
exactly. So that is where I would need assistance. How do you train these willing people to be effective really in their training? You know, to understand the mentality of the child. You know, how education, how imparting knowledge, you know, works. So that is where I would be interested in really a lot there.
It's very inspiring to hear you, Your Excellency, because during the whole conversation, I heard this empathy. It's constant empathy that you have for the other. You want to be in their shoes, not coming and imposing.
Definitely. And really, there is again, you know, a fertile ground. You know, I've known this because, you know, I go around the parishes, but I know it even more now because we have a shortage of priests in our diocese. So since beginning of this year, I took over a small parish, you know, and I teach catechism myself. You know, I'm doing First Communion with a group there, and I saw that I had to start from scratch, from the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, whereas they are baptized. And when you pay attention to them, you see how much, you know, they are willing, you know. On Sunday, they would be asking, you know, are you coming, you know, next Saturday? I said, no, I'm sorry, no, I will be in Namibia, so I'm not coming, you know. But I see the thirst in them, you know, and with a little, you know, that I'm able to do, you know, searching in the internet, you know, and taking maybe that book and putting things together so that I'm able to communicate effectively, you know, with them. I see that I'm struggling myself, you know, because I realize that when I'm a teacher, I used to teach in the seminary, and so, you know, I just talk and lecture. You know, this is not working. You have to devise some other means, you know. So that is when I go to the internet then and search for ways where you engage people, you talk, you ask them questions, you know, and then they respond, you do some sketches, you know, you show some charts when you have them. So it's okay, I am getting them, you know, now. So when I heard about this, I said, no, this is exactly my need, you know, that's what I would like. Yeah.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for having this time with us.
Not at all. Thank you for having me. It was good sharing with you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in another program of Where God Weeps. If you want to know more about the work that the Church is doing in South Africa, we encourage you to contact the information at the end of this program. Thank you, and God bless.